Here we are again. Time to start designing, make stuff happen. Actually, probably doing a lot more just playing and seeing what I've already got. Let's see what I'm going to be surprised because I hadn't really touched anything since Saturday night. So let's see what we've done. I hope it's good stuff. Lazy Monday, Lazy Saturday. I don't know which one. I'm guessing this one. Actually, let me go over here. Let's see what we've done. Is this the right one? Maybe. I see different stuffs. Let's take a look. It looks pretty good. Don't remember. I remember I changed something. Let's go and see this one. How much different is this one? I see the money. That's good. I see the money track on the top. I see these. I think this is the newest one. Looks like because of that whole money thing. It's funny because the money little thing looks upside down. Let's take another look. Let's look at the other one. I think it's this one. I don't think that one has a money track on it. It does not. The other one is more current. Let's go. I'm going to end up making a folder and starting all over again inside of the folder. Probably. Anyway. We just want to load it. We don't want to over. Awesome. Okay, so from this state, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about before we actually play, and things to think about. Okay, one of those things is strategy, and the strategy in the game. Okay, so I want there to be strategy between the cubes that you use and the things that you do, and I want you to be able to plan for the future. I want there to be rewards for people who are willing to plan, but also we need some tactics where there's a way to deal with what's in front of you. Also, we want this spending money, the economy of the game, and being able to buy these things that make you, like your income and all that, to be able to turn that into something. What we don't want is to redo games that we already know. Like, let's say we don't want to remake Terra Mystica, and we don't want to. So in regards to Terra Mystica, we don't want it where we're unlocking these things and the path that we go on feels like Terra Mystica, and I might already be there. So I have to be wary of that. The other thing is I don't want the game to be dictated in a way that feels similar to Terraforming Mars with these cards. Now, to me, the game doesn't feel anything like either one of those games, but it's something for me to be aware of and something to think about whenever I'm making comparisons, because it's a different style of path. Let's start with the Terra Mystica thing. Like Terra Mystica, you'll open up little special abilities as you're playing, and as you're placing houses or whatever, they make an income, or they can make an income. This is a little bit different, as we didn't group together the thing you're buying, like let's say a little house. We're not grouping together the thing that you're buying along with its income. We're doing this thing where we've got an income, and it's, let's see, how else get up with it? Okay, maybe it's the same thing. So let's say if you have a factory on a track, and you build the factory, and each factory gives you $1, or almost every factory gives you $1. A certain amount of factories that are built give you $1 for each factory that's out there. Well, it's not like that. Okay, so you have this track, and let's say you have a track of 5. The first one, when you build it and put it out, has a thing underneath it, Terra Mystica, of a hand, and let's say $1. And let's say the third one, same thing, hand and $1. Let's say the fourth and the fifth one, both hand and $1. So when you build these factories, the more you build during income, the more income you're likely to have, depending on if that factory had $1 bill thing underneath it. Our version of the factory is you make the game, you buy the technology to give you factories, and these factories, if you use them, will give you extra resources. So I guess that is a little different now that when I speak about it. Does it need to be more different? That's something else to ask myself. Definitely doesn't need to be closer to. We need to be further away. So in Terra Mystica, even though the pieces have incomes, when you build the pieces, you get different incomes, and also for you get rewarded for building different pieces. In this game, I want it to be much wider, meaning that there's the path of building stuff unlocks other stuff, but the question is, I guess not the first part is, the question is, what is the optimal path for this game? And it doesn't need to be the optimal path. Like, I think in Terra Mystica, there is a little bit of the optimal path for this game, but that's dictated a little bit by that thing on the side where it tells you, okay, so during this round, houses score you an extra 5 points, dwellings score you an extra whatever. Where this game is going to be not going to be like that. It would be, what goods did you get? And then you build, books, factories, book factories, thought factories, money factories, cube factories, and you try to go down the path that those make. So I guess what I'm thinking, if it's tactical, that path is dictated by the play, and there is not a 100% optimal path for that. The other way is that there's optimal paths, and one path is better than another path, but it's very rock, paper, scissors, where each one counters a different one. So depending on what these players are doing dictates whether you can counter them or if you can go down a different route. Those are two different ways we could do this, or we could probably do both on top of each other. Or maybe we don't need to do that at all. Maybe that's too normal. Maybe we can do something completely different. I don't know. I know that right now I need to think about the strategic path of, one of the things I need to think about is the strategic path of the color of the cubes and what they're doing. Like, okay, so let's say I have these right here, this one of each color. Let's say that's all I have. And I'm building excuse me for my rudeness. I'm building, let's say this one, just for the sake of argument. I want to make it where I can plan the optimal way to build this for my next route to have a better position for somehow because of the colors. Because right now, I can't say that that's the way it is. I can say that you could probably do just about anything, and the colors of the cube slowly, like just in a minute way, dictate a small deviation. And I don't think that's enough, per se. How do we fix that? A broad stroke is how many colors do I have? What does it take to do something? The first broad stroke is, do you want more or do you want less? How many? What's optimal for trying to do something like that? I don't know. Intuition tells me more, but intuition's usually wrong when it comes to something like this. Sometimes the unconventional might be the right path. So, if that's the case, what would this look like if we used less colors? So if we only use 2 colors to make to pull an agave out of the ground, the plus side is that it's less likely to get screwed. But how does that help our strategy engine? And I'm just calling it an engine because it will be an engine. It's not currently. If we add too many colors, it's going to be harder to make something happen, which might give a player a reason not to plan, because the overhead, the uploading of all this information is too much, so you're just overwhelmed and you don't feel like planning. Some of that is on the player, but some of that is on the game. And I think too many colors would be the wrong way, but I don't know if taking away colors is necessarily going to be the right thing. So if we look at 3 colors, we want to get one of these agaves. What if we simplified it? Right now, in this, let's say this section here, I'm using 2 colors. One to activate the section, and then one to do the thing. But if you notice, like on my agaves, I've got 3 different colors. Those colors don't match all the colors I'm using. I mean, I do have a yellow and I do have a red, but I don't have an orange. What if the cards, what if these colors right here are these colors? So the only problem that I have with that is whenever I start looking at the second section, how do the colors relate to what we're actually doing? So in the first section, these colors represent the different the sugar count, the sugar amount in the agave, or another way to look at it is how ripe it is. The more overripe it is, like let's say there's an ideal ripeness, or what we would claim to be an ideal ripeness, and then there's more than that, and the more than that just means that there's more sugar, and the flavor probably tastes different, but it has a lot more sugar. Or we do less than the ideal ripening, and it has less sugar, and it tastes not quite the same. And I would assume that, well, I know that before a faster factory, that's what you want. You want to get the agaves out of the ground as fast as possible because time is money, and these things can take, what do they say, 6 to 18 years of whatever before you can turn them into tequila. So if you run in like a Cuervo or something like that, and you're running the what is it called? If you're diffusing to get the agave out, during the diffusing process, you're not doing yourself any favor by waiting the agave out. In other words, when you diffuse tequila, you're not going to be able to taste the difference more than likely between overripe and underripe. So you might as well underripe it if it's not going to make a big difference. So my problem is, let's say I have this, we already have a red cube. So let's point out here, boom. Let's say every time we have a red cube, that allows us to pull out this agave at the highest end. So if that's the case, we can have the cube represent either artisan skill, or we could have it represent more time. Like it takes longer. When something takes long, it takes a red cube, and when something doesn't take long, it takes a yellow cube. And then that means that the middle would be the orange cube, and that would just also mean that as you're building your player board, you're trying to build a monoculture here of cube colors. Because let's say you want to do something that is if you want to go towards artisan, you just want to produce red cubes. The interesting thing about that's not a bad idea. The interesting thing about that is that we could redo this bottom section, which is buying the skills. We could do it to piggyback that, where, let's say I want to make red cubes. There's a red cube path, and we build this whole thing to represent what the red, when we're looking at the red cube, we look at what it would take to build a red cube path, and always looking at these things as time. And so maybe certain skills within the red path aren't long. Like, let's say, okay, this is just putting shit out there. So let's just say there's a red cube path. Red cube path means artisan. Artisan as in a craftsman. And in this game, most things that it takes to be a craftsman take a long time. But there's a few things that don't. So let's say in the craftsman path, it doesn't take long to let's say figure out yeast. That's just throwing something out there. That's not true, but let's just say figuring out yeast is a short-term thing. So if you use a red cube to do that, you are wasting a red cube. The ideal thing is a yellow cube, and doing a red cube means you're slow. So what if you have like a manager? Okay, so this isn't in the game, but I'm just saying, what if you have a manager and he sees you doing a skill that should take any average person 5 seconds to learn it, and it's taking you an hour? That's where the artisan part is a detriment. That is where your attention to detail in the long term is great, but in the short term, as people are assessing your ability to do stuff, is bad. So maybe if I went down this path where I change it to 3 color cubes instead of 4, or maybe we keep it 4, but it becomes time, then I can look at the red path in that light. So let's say I'm looking down the yellow path. So let's say, yellow path will say, well, we'll look at this card. We're saying that this is agave here that is yellow, which means that it's agave that you're going to get pre-ripe, which represents speed. So there's certain skills, even if you want to make fast agave. Even if you're, let's say you're working for Jose Cuervo and you're going to make fast agave, there's certain things that you're going to learn on the line. And I'm saying the line as in factory line, like you're working in this factory and you learn skills. There's going to be certain things that you need to take your time on that don't lend itself to yellow. So on this path of yellow, there's a couple of orange things which take a long time, and there's a couple of red things that take a really long time. So if I look at it that way, doing the 3-color thing isn't bad. It's interesting. It changes the game up quite a bit. I could change that to 4 colors. It means I'm changing all this color shit again. I don't know. That would mean, like, let's say I did colors and we're doing a grade. So we would go, let me just put that out there to think about it. One of these would need to be yellow. We're thinking, we're thinking, what's the heck? Clinic. Clinic has these 3 colors, but we want to add one more color to this list of colors. So what I did in Matchstick Girls was I added white to it. So if we want to add white on this end, oops, that's not white. White. We add white to this end. There's the list of colors. In general, and then we'll be saying, like, in general, the white path is the path that is the quickest. The red path is the slowest. Okay, so what if, okay, this is probably really stupid. There are only stupid people and stupid questions. They go along with stupid people. I think I fucked up this draggable thing. Where is it? Drag select. Cool. Drag select. Awesome. What if we relate it to we go violet. We go no, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I preferred the, if we're gonna do a rainbow, we pretty much have to do what we know. I was thinking it would be interesting, but it doesn't really work if we did violet on one side and red on the other, so you can kind of think about physical light and how, you know, on one side ultraviolet like moves really fast, like the wavelengths are extremely fast, and then when you look at red, it's really slow. But we're not going to do that. We'll just do that, like that. It's easy to see the colors getting hotter. Okay, so if we did that, we're making each one of these sections only relate to that. I think it's okay to in certain sections take out a color. Like we can take out like white in this first section. Like there's no super fast way because agave does take a while to grow. So we'll take out white. And then we'll do this next section where nothing is extremely slow. Like the slowest version is whenever you bake it in a brick oven. But it's, you know, it's only going to take a few days at the longest. So in there is no red. There's like super fast. And then there is, you know, autoclave, which is in the middle. And then there's clay or brick oven. So there's no red in this second section. And then we go into we go into the water section or the milling section, and maybe in that milling section there also is no red because it's not really a fast thing. Then over here, you know, we don't see when we're distilling it, Actually, this is the distilling section. When we're distilling it, again, it's not a very long process, so we're missing red. But here, there is no short process. Even when you make a silver, it's pretty quick. I mean, it's pretty long. So that's interesting. Using the cubes to mean time, and it's just a generalization. So let me, in this section, there would be no white. In this section, there would be no red. In this section, again, no red. And in this section, again, no white. And the bottling section, that's a quick process, again, no red. So far it looks like that as far as cubes that are used for a section. Originally I had in this section, you were using basically 2 cubes to make an agave. You use 2 here. Here, like this top one would take 3. That would be 4. So to go from here on an export track, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would take 7 cubes to do it. So this also makes me wonder if I should adjust the lengths here based on it. Probably not. I could. Again, this is just an idea. So let me think about what I have now. What I have now is roughly skills. Like these are just skills. One lends itself to artisan, which is this one, and then one lends itself. Well, okay, so artisan's probably wrong. One lends itself to making tequila, like the path of making tequila as a craftsman. This one lends itself to making tequila as just a worker. So the further this way, the more responsibility, not the more pay, the more responsibility you're taking upon yourself to learn the craft. Excuse me. And the direction this way is to not concern yourself with the responsibilities of work, or not putting that on you, like leaving your job at home when you go home. So that's what we have so far. I'm wondering if this is a better path to go down or this one. I'll think about it at work or maybe later. Well, okay, so my story is the last couple of days I've had to drive to the airport. I have had to take a friend to the airport. He's an older man, and that is something I've been having to do at 3 o'clock in the morning to drive him out of town. First night that I had to do it was last night, and our first morning was yesterday morning, and that was 5:30. Took him up there. Flight was canceled, and we had to come straight back. And so, because I'm a night person, getting up at 3 o'clock at 3:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning is so freaking hard. I had a very difficult time Monday or Tuesday morning. So today's Wednesday. It got canceled, and so we postponed the flight for today. So this morning at 3:30 in the morning, did it again. Now this is me trying to go to bed at 8, but not going to bed till 10 or 11. So getting a lot less sleep than normal, dealing with this whole sleepy thing. So I could just be talking out my ass today and not really made any progress. I might have set even myself back. I don't know. The other thing is that I don't need to go too much further before I start changing things, and I did it like with sleepy brain. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop and listen over this and think about, should I make that change? That's a dramatic change to make. And does making that change help the game, or does it hinder it? What options do I have? What can I look at? Because I have something now that works, and I like where it's going, but it isn't set in stone in what the game can actually do. That's amazing. So I know I can feel that there's something amazing coming. So anyway, I'm going to stop right there. If you watch, I appreciate it. And please follow me if you come across this. I need it. I needs it. Subscribe to the YouTube. Do whatever. Do something. Anyway, how do you turn this damn thing off?